I believe we're live. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jason. Welcome to tonight's live stream. I have a feeling it's going to be a quiet live stream tonight. My brother on Bruce Sees All is currently doing a live stream. I'm expecting JD from Garland Farms to come on this evening, maybe give us a little update about the vegan debate world, when the next debate is, any drama maybe that's been going on that we're unaware of. Been quite busy, so I haven't really been following too much. I did see notice the latest vegan to no longer be vegan is Cosmic Skeptic. So there's a lot of vegan response videos of them explaining why he was never vegan and why he did it wrong, and that if he did it correctly, he wouldn't have had to quit veganism for various health reasons that developed. I also was snooping around and I fell upon John Venus. I can punch up his name, John Venus on YouTube. He was a very prominent vegan, and he was a weight trainer. So he was the go-to guy to show that you can get very muscular and strong on a vegan diet, but his health was paying a price, and I believe he had quit. This was a couple of years ago, and then after he went back, and then I just never looked up, to find out what was up with this guy. But I guess he quit again, and let's check out his channel just a little bit. JD, I'm putting the link in the description. I think we have 4 viewers. Please say hello in the chat, subscribe, press the thumbs up, and feel free to jump on if you want to chat until JD gets here. Hey man, Alien Drone, what up? Surprised there's actually 4 people. Bruce helped me a lot with getting some exposure a few months ago, so had about 100 extra subscribers to my small channel. Let's go, Carney. What up, Carney? Feel free to jump on if you like. The link is right there in the chat if anyone wants to pop up and say hi. Until JD gets on, I don't really have that much material. I'm just started a live stream because I just want to touch base with JD and from Garland Farms and see what's up with the vegan debates and everything. Darth Drip Walker. I've been eating some McChicken sandwiches while watching my comedy video. McChicken. All right, present. Share. Yeah, so this one is John Venus. John Venus, 354,000 subscribers. So if you look what happened with this guy, he started doing videos, but he looks like he stopped for a good amount of time. This was like 1 year ago, 2 years ago. So he hasn't been putting out that many videos. I just want to go see how I lost weight eating 10. Oh, look at you. Look at that. 7, 6, 8, 17. Athletes try vegan food for first time. Getting ripped. Meaty cheeseburger in London. I want to see where he first went. Vegan diet and workout instruction. Okay, so see, this is like 8 years ago. So let's see, unless he removed it. Workout motivational. 7 years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago. He was still definitely vegan. Uh, discussing veganism. From obese to beast, food addiction and binge eating. Jeez, good job, this guy. Potato milk. All right. So I guess he's still delusional at this point. See, over here it was like 6 years, and all of a sudden a whole year goes by. Anyways, went a little bit back and forth. But now, footage John V eating meat, my vegan journey. So then he's back. So he's flip-flopping. But I guess at this point now, he is not vegan. Let me just see if anybody's showed up. There's Garland. What up, Garland?
Hello, Jason.
Yeah, so I heard Cosmic Skeptic, I guess, maybe a couple of weeks ago quit. Did you ever hear of that guy's name? I think he was like in the debate. He was a vegan, but I think he's probably also a debater. I'm not sure. I recognize the name. Do you know him?
I have a video that featured him about that.
Yeah. And then I ended up snooping on John Venus. So he's not a vegan anymore either.
Yeah.
Like I remember he had quit at one point, and then he flopped right back, like soon after. Let's see, we can check out this one. Am I sharing this damn screen? Yes.
I can tell you that most veganism is dead, and I'm going to tell you exactly why I believe that is. I can tell you that most social media people that were vegan are no longer vegan anymore, and those who still are not seeing the growth and the views as they used to. The Google Trends show this as well. The real reason behind this is not to do with public interest, it's to do with human biology and health. I don't know anyone who's ever been a vegan who struggled with their health, introduced animal foods, and had a negative effect. Only the opposite. I've only seen children benefit tremendously, my own included. I've only seen adults reverse gut issues, mental issues, all kinds of stuff by adding animal foods in. We are very, very individual in how we respond to food. Some people can go on for very long with a suboptimal lifestyle. Some people
I like how he goes, some people can go longer periods of time with a suboptimal like veganism.
Can go their whole lives. But it doesn't mean that everyone can. People who are eating meat hear these stories and they don't have any reason to try veganism because they see so many people who've been very, very prominent, very famous vegans, vegan activists, quitting their diet because of health issues. And so less and less people are even willing to try. There are many things that we don't know about nutrition and health, and especially when it comes to kids, I think it is a very risky thing to put your kids on a diet that has never been done in human history.
So what are your thoughts on ex-vegans and stuff like that? Do you think that that's a powerful tool against veganism, is to actually have people that have done it for a long time and then start speaking out?
One of the most powerful tools there is.
Yeah. 100%. We should do a research on the Game Changer, see how many of the people that were in the Game Changer are actually still vegan.
Well, you have to be careful when you get into celebrity influencers because Just because someone says that they're vegan doesn't mean that they are.
True. Like Schwarzenegger,
Yeah, all of them.
Fridge.
Anyone who's in a position where they could be paid
Yeah.
to promote veganism.
Yeah.
And there have been even much lower level influencers like Raw Vana and Raw
Bono?
Vana. Raw
Oh,
Vana. Here, I'll pull
okay.
it up. Here, I'll
Yeah.
pull it up so you can see what happened. It was in a restaurant. Eating lunch.
Yeah.
And her friend, I'm going to put it in the private chat. Why don't you share this?
Sure.
So she hadn't told anyone what she was actually doing behind the scenes. She was eating fish.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm listening.
She had been telling everyone that she was vegan,
Mhm.
and meanwhile she was eating fish.
Yeah.
Her friend pulls out her camera or pulls out her phone, starts filming, and busts her with a plate of fish. And then it was after that that she came out and said, I have to tell you, I haven't been
Totally
vegan for a while now.
Well, it's like John Venus. I mean, he was making mucho dollars there, being a vegan. I'd have to check. I saw one of his videos. I don't know if he went broke. Obviously, I mean, he lost his, all the money that he was making from advertisements and stuff like that. I wonder if his brother is still vegan.
Well, yeah, the doctor, I believe that he is promoting veganism, but I don't believe he's vegan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're
think he's
both
a Chegan.
Yeah. I was just looking at a guy's comment there, 33-year plus vegan. And I was like, what an idiot.
Oh, you didn't want to watch it?
Eh? Yeah.
You didn't?
Yeah. No, we'll watch it. I just figured if we were talking more, I would bring it down. All right. Let's do it.
Pues no aquí,
yo soy local.
pero sí en Asia. Henry lleva aquí más de un mes, pues no aquí,
Yo soy local.
pero sí en Asia. Fue a Japón, fue a yo no sé dónde, mejor dicho, qué envidia de plan. Y pues buen provechito.
Factory cows never die of hunger. A child dies of hunger every 2.3 seconds. Don't fall for fake vegans. Every year, 760 million tons of grain are fed to livestock. It could solve global food shortages 14 times. Okay, so that was
everything for freely is food. If it's not about food, what?
Here, how my vegan diet came to an end.
Hey everyone, John here. Welcome back to another video. It's been 9 months since the last one, so happy to see you here again. And today I want to talk about why I really stopped being vegan. We didn't know if it was appropriate to share my son's experience with the public. And as you can understand, there's a lot of hate, a lot of anger around this topic because it's so emotional to us, especially if we're very deeply invested in our belief system as vegans. And so we left it out just because we thought it was the right choice. However, I've reconsidered, and I think it's important as a parent to share transparently why I made such a drastic switch. And so I had mentioned in videos it was because I was scared for my son. And while that's true, the fact is that we experienced health issues and some red flags that really got me to question veganism over the years. And so it started with having our son. Our son was born healthy to vegan parents, and he went through a fully vegan pregnancy, and there were no issues there. And the issues started coming in when we saw his teeth coming in, and his teeth were fine in the beginning, a little bit thin, but nothing out of the ordinary. However, he started to develop cavities on his front teeth, his the first teeth that come out.
So you want to go through JD, just so we're pausing and not getting astray. This is a common thing I've heard about vegan children, their teeth just crumbling out of their mouth. I think Tristan Haggard, Primal Edge Health, they were vegan also at the start, and they stopped because his daughter's teeth were just crumbling like chalk. So what would be this? This would be like calcium D3 and also MK4 deficiencies, probably, or anything. What's your thoughts on why children's teeth crumble when they're vegan?
Calcium, D3, MK4, as well as magnesium and other minerals, because if our teeth were just made of calcium, then they would have the consistency of chalk. The reason our teeth are have a lot of calcium in them, of course, but the reason they're not chalky is because they're made up of a matrix of calcium, magnesium, and several other minerals. So these other minerals also have to be escorted to the location where they're required. And also, you've got phytic acid in the vegan diet that will bind with minerals and render them non-bioavailable. So anti-nutrients, vitamin deficiencies, mineral deficiencies.
Sugar, high sugar also. I mean, everything is just sugar. I mean,
we have a microbiome in our mouth, believe it or not, that actually is supposed to be playing a positive role in our tooth health. And two of the worst things you can do, one is a high sugar diet. Starch, also, if you've ever eaten pizza, you'll notice that pizza dough gets stuck between your teeth and it'll sit there. And it might, you can see like someone hours after eating a pizza might have a piece of pizza dough stuck between their teeth, and the entire time that it's there, the amylase in the saliva is turning it into glucose, just maintaining this constant drip, drip, drip of glucose in the mouth. And the microbiota in the mouth is not supposed to be the species of bacteria that feed on sugar.
Yep. And
so those bacteria do not maintain proper oral health. It's kind of like similarly, I was thinking about this the other day. People will drink things like kombucha and other sugar species of probiotics. Number one, when you drink those things, most of those bacteria are going to be killed by the hydrochloric acid in your stomach. But also, as I understand it, your microbiome in the colon can actually affect your cravings. And so if you populate your colon and your intestines with the species of bacteria that feed on sugar, then you're going to be craving sugar. And that's why it's a bad idea to populate your microbiome with sugar consuming species.
The nutrition and physical degeneration, with Weston A. Price and all the images of the beautiful dental health that they had, and like cavities were like under 1% for most of these people following their native diets that were part of their culture. They didn't have fluoride. They didn't have dentists that were available there. And I did notice I used to always have like tartar, especially in the back, like in the back of my teeth and stuff like that. And most of my cavities were when I was a kid. I've ever since like going like a keto, low carb, carnivore, whatever you want to call it, really reducing sugar and stuff like that. My teeth don't get stained. The dentist was like, oh wow, there's a lot less tartar. Are you doing anything different? And I was like, I didn't bring it up. I was like, yeah, I don't I don't brush my teeth hardly anymore because you guys said my gums were receding. But yeah, it's really the sugar. Um, because yeah, my teeth really don't get stained uh, at all anymore. Um, and I think there's definitely something to that.
Yeah. Did you see my community post today?
No, let's check it out. Yes, it was long, eh? Yeah, I did see it. We can go check it out.
Yeah, there's someone in there that I think is a vegan posing as a non-vegan
Okay.
in the comments section.
Is it Amazing Grace coming with another account?
No, I can recognize when she's in one of her alt accounts every time. She has a certain way of speaking that I can pick out of a crowd.
Community posts. Am I sharing
Even-
right now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Community.
Next
thumbs
to the
up.
next one. There you
This
go.
one. This one? Yeah.
Yes. So you may want to go to the comments so
Sure.
you can see the comments on that one. Not
Do you want me to read this first? Or is it,
sure.
do we have to?
Sure. Yeah,
As
go
well.
ahead.
All right. David and Chris used to say that most of the soybeans were being exclusively grown to feed livestock animals. Now they're finally admitting that most of the soybeans are being grown to have the oil extracted from them. Humans consume 100% of the oil. I've actually forced them to admit that the soybean meal left over after the oil extraction is at best a non-human edible co-product, which is basically profit from the waste. However, they're also now claiming that abolishing all livestock from the planet will effectively abolish the majority of the soybean industry. They're claiming that without the option of selling soy cellulose and protein as livestock feed, some other oil crop, such as palm oil, coincidentally is also causing deforestation in the Amazon, will supplant the entire soybean oil market, therefore effectively removing the harmful and destructive soybean factory crop farms. However, if livestock are abolished and there's no more meat, dairy, or eggs, this leaves a tremendous, gargantuan deficit in available dietary protein and many essential micronutrients required for maintaining the health and lives of the world's human population. Under a global vegan mandate, the protein portion of this nutrient deficit could potentially be remedied with, and now you have the options: spinach, portobello mushrooms, industrial waste from palm oil production, high protein vegan misanthropy, or nothing. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy that they're coming up with the idea that if we stop feeding soy to cows, that all of a sudden this harmful soy industry would be minuscule. When it's like, no, it would be exponentially increased because, like you just said, there's a huge deficit now. Forget the micronutrients. Let's assume that we can live on supplement, but just protein, complete protein. Like where are we going to get the protein? And soy will have to play a massive part in that. I would say that there'd be 3 times at least more soy, and they'd have to up everything else like pea, rice, all of it. And what makes soy more destructive? Because it seems like now they're okay with throwing soy under the bus, but what is soy any more destructive than other plant crops? like they're trying
Only
to say, oh well, yeah, soy's bad, but we can go do other stuff. Like, aren't they all kind of equally as destructive?
they are, except that soy is driving deforestation in the Amazon, whereas corn is not really grown in the Amazon.
Okay. But the soy that's grown in the Amazon, it's still part of the distribution of oil and stuff, or is that more for animals?
No,
No, right? It's pretty much
yeah,
the same thing.
it's virtually all processed to extract the oil.
Yeah. Okay, so nothing new. Because they don't seem to be only like they're not just concentrating. Oh well, soy is exceptionally bad because of the Amazon. They're acknowledging how destructive it is overall. So let's look at the comments. You wanted to check out the comments. I'm sure there's some
Yeah,
color stuff in
read
there.
that. Read that comment thread that was started by Draco King, and you'll see a character come in there by the name of Dart Father. I'm pretty sure Dart Father is actually a vegan.
Okay.
LARPing is a non-vegan.
So
You can see him. You can notice those vegan argument techniques where he's putting words in my mouth.
Is this Drake that we're looking at? This guy?
Yeah, you see where it says 11 replies under there?
Yeah. All right. So Draco starts, I would argue that feeding the crop byproducts to livestock makes the whole system more ecologically stable. I would argue that feeding the crop byproduct to livestock makes the whole system more Well, they're making money off the byproduct, which is the soy meal, but how is that making things more ecologically stable?
I think what he's saying there is that otherwise these byproducts would be an environmental hazard because they would build up and we wouldn't have anywhere to put them.
Yeah.
And by doing that, by either burning them or pouring them into the river or just letting them pile up, then you're not able to turn them into meat, because turning that waste into nutritious meat has a value to it, not only monetarily, but
nutrient wise.
It's ecologically better than some other options.
Yeah.
But there are other options that I go over here in the comments section that would be better than feeding them to livestock.
Yeah. So you reply with, I would argue that massively downsizing soybean and corn factory monocropping and replacing them with regenerative ruminant grazing systems would more benefit the ecology as well as human health. Fair point. Then after he says, here I am thinking past and present tense while you are thinking future tense. All right. Then another better use for this refuse than using it as livestock feed would be using this waste as a soil amendment to improve soil carbon, organic material on grazing pasture to improve water absorption, holding capacity for more diverse and lush grazing vegetation. Yeah. Kind of like making like a compost kind of thing.
No, you just spread it over the soil, just like your, you just spread it out. Just distribute it evenly across a pasture. Don't pile it up into a compost pile. Just spread it out and let the animals work it into the soil with their hooves, and it will contribute to soil carbon and contribute to the health of the soil.
Okay, makes sense. Casadilla says, yes, let's eat more lard and tallow. Dart Father
This is the person I think is a vegan posing as a non-vegan.
Why would you use soy meal as fertilizer when it is more profitable to sell it as livestock feed? Then you wrote, I didn't say it would be initially more profitable. Yeah, no one's talking about profit. We're talking about better use of it. More profitable to use it to enrich the soil. I said it would be a better use for it. Keep in mind that the erosion caused by tillage required by corn and soybean is causing wind and rain erosion at such a rate that most estimates say we have about 60 years of topsoil left. Things are not as simple as you might read more. You might think they are. Dart responds, your topic is whether soy is being planted mostly for animals or humans. For soy, the driving force is the need for livestock feed. So where are they coming up with this? Like, you know how they like to say, you know, like, okay, we'll prove this and prove that. This is a new thing now. Like you said, they were always just basically saying soy, all that soy is for the animals, just giving the impression, right, that the soy is going straight from the soybean into the cow. That was debunked. So now they're backtracking, and now they're trying to say, oh well, actually, they're using the soy to make money with the rice meal, and they're just taking advantage of the oil kind of thing. Like they're trying to put, you know, like the chicken, which one's first, chicken or the egg kind of expression, which is full of crap. Like it has always been for the oil, and it'll always be for the oil primarily.
Well, the you know, the profit, there's two separate profit banks here. You know, there's a profit bank that's coming from the oil. There's also a profit bank that's coming from the soybean meal. And for years, the livestock meal portion of that bank coming in has superseded the amount of money that's coming in from the oil. So I'm not arguing that they don't make a lot of money. In fact, you know, up until in the last couple of years, they were making more money with the meal than they were with the oil. But that's, you know, that happens in a lot of industries. Even the phosphogypsum, you know, they mine the phosphorus, and once they take the phosphorus out, then there's this radioactive waste dirt that piles up into these big mountains, and it becomes this hugely damaging and harmful element that's sitting there eutrophying into the local ecology and into the rivers and into the ocean, contributing to oceanic dead zones and all that. And it's like I say, it's a radioactive material, because the ground there has radioactive materials in it. And when you remove the phosphorus out and you have this waste material left over, then the radioactive elements become concentrated, because you've just removed the phosphorus was helping to dilute that radioactive element. So what they did, what the phosphorus mining industry did, was there for a while they had fixed it so that they could sell that as a filler material for highways around the country. And so they were filling the highways with this radioactive material. They were making a lot of money with it, and it could have turned into something that they were making more money with than the actual phosphorus fertilizers that they were mining.
Yeah. All right, where are we with continuing this? Here, I'll just start over this one. I didn't say it would be initially more profitable to use it to enrich the soil. I said it would be a better use for it. Keep in mind that the erosion caused by the tillage required by corn and soybean is causing wind and rain erosion at such a high rate that most estimates say we have about 60 years of topsoil left. Things are not as simple as you might think they are. And then Dart says, your topic is whether soy is being planted mostly for animals or humans. For soy, the driving force is the need for livestock feed. Blaming monocropping on the need to feed ever increasing population. Rice, corn, wheat has been monocropped for thousands of years. In the modern world, many crops are now monocropped, including soy, peanuts, and even non-foods like cotton. You need to feed the world. You cannot feed the world with small scale gardening. And you wrote, no, that's not the topic. The topic is ultimately that the destructive factory monocropping that produces the items on the vegan menu is causing more environmental destruction and animal suffering and death than is animal agriculture by far. The vegans originally denied this, then they agreed, but blamed it on livestock, claiming that if we abolish livestock, 90% of the crops would not have to be grown. Answer the question. If we abolish animal agriculture, by what percentage is that going to reduce the destructive factory soybean monocropping industry? Dart responds by saying, so you blame vegans for monocropping. 99% of the world's population are omnivores like you and me. Crops are monocropped because of us. And yes, your topic about soy is for you to show that soy is farmed mostly for humans, but it is wrong. The driving force for soy farming in reality is soy meal for livestock. And you finish with, no, I don't blame vegans. I blame the factory monocropping that provides the items on the vegan menu. Are you really claiming that vegans don't want everyone to be vegan? ? And this is your last chance to answer the following question. If we abolish animal agriculture, by what percentage is that going to reduce the destructive factory soybean monocropping industry? And then no response.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see that those debate techniques that he's using, putting words in my mouth. Like I say, there's all of this environmental destruction, animal suffering and death that's being caused by the factory monocropping industry that produces the items on the vegan menu. I very clearly put the blame on the industrial factory monocropping industry. And then he turns around and says, so you're blaming vegans. And no, I didn't blame vegans. I do blame vegans for trying to force everyone to be vegan. So even though they're such a small percentage of the population, they're working with heavily moneyed interests pushing the agenda, trying to legislate, trying to pass legislation that would criminalize animal agriculture, legislation that would criminalize hunting and fishing. And so what they're working for is, and they're very straightforward about that. We're working for a vegan world. One day we will have a vegan world. The vegan, the future is vegan. And so this argument that, why are you trying to blame vegans? They're such a small percentage of the population, because if everyone is forced to be a vegan, then 100% of the population is reliant upon this destructive monocropping model.
Yeah.
And then notice how he said we can't feed the world with little gardens. And there again, that's a straw man. I never said that we have to switch from the factory monocropping model to trying to feed the world with little gardens. I didn't say that. That's a straw man. And that's why I believe he's a vegan. He's using vegan dishonest argument techniques. And he's probably a misanthrope. They use that, meat eaters like us. Meat eaters like us.
Yeah,
you
like
and me.
us.
You and me, we're meat eaters, Hello, fellow meat eaters. These kinds of phrases are red flags. And you hear something like that, The red flags should go up, and you start looking for them to argue against you, pretending that, hey man, I'm one of you, but I'm a meat eater too. But they got a point. These vegans are, they write about this.
Yeah.
You know.
There's some article I'm trying to find. There's a lot of articles that talk about the dawn of the agricultural revolution, like 10, 12,000 years ago, how when it was first adopted, that the health of the people declined. There was a loss in stature. There was a lot of health consequences when we left the hunter-gatherer and started, planting fields and fields and trying to survive there. I did a video on it, but I'm trying to see dawn of agriculture. Before I go there, show a video if people are interested in watching this one. Let me go find it. All right, videos. I think it was something like basically the dawn of agriculture made us sick. I think that might be the actual title. Tell me if you see something. Oh yeah, these two videos. So it's like pretty much an hour, a little over an hour, part one and part two, looking up the dawn of agriculture and articles about it. This one from Science Daily. How long is this? Maybe we could just read the summary. When the populations around the globe started turning to agriculture around 10,000 years ago, regardless of their location and the type of crops, a similar trend occurred. The height and the health of the people declined. The pattern holds up across standardized studies of whole skeletons in populations, says researchers in the first comprehensive global review of the literature regarding stature and health during the agricultural transition. And there is many articles, so it's not like just one. Early farmers were sicker and shorter than forager ancestors. Something that no one knows unless you've looked it up, but it's not. I don't think the majority of the people wouldn't assume that this was the case. As human societies adopted agriculture, their people became shorter and less healthy, according to a new review of studies focused on the health impact of early farming. Societies around the world, in Britain, Thailand, Tennessee, experienced this trend regardless of when they started farming and what staple crops they farmed, the researchers found. This finding runs contrary to the idea that a stable source of food makes people grow bigger and healthier. The data suggested, in fact, that poor nutrition, increased disease, and other problems that plagued early farming peoples more than their hunter-gatherer predecessors outweighed any benefit from stability. So how the heck? The researchers dug through data from more than 20 studies that collected clues to stature and overall health, everything from dental cavities to bone strength, from ancient skeletons. These studies focused on a wide range of cultures, Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas, as they transitioned from forager to farmers. And the team saw that across the board, people's height decreased and health worsened as they traded hunting and gathering for the garden and the herd. Whatever accounts for the decline. While we tend to think that growing our food rather than foraging for it must be a good thing, humans paid a heavy biological cost for agriculture. A diet based on a limited number of crops meant that people weren't getting a wide variety of nutrients, as when they relied on a range of food sources, leaving them malnourished and thus both shorter and more susceptible to disease. Now, I'm not sure about this one because with nutrition and physical degeneration, if you look at all of those cultures, they had like 3 or 4 staple foods, sometimes like 2 or 3, 2 staple foods, and nose to tail animal, like a ruminant animal, nose to tail, will you agree, right, that all of the nutrients are in a nose to tail, like you can find if you're eating the organs? Do you agree with that? Not saying that that's optimal and that we should be trying to push a carnivore diet, but do you agree with that, or you have different thoughts about just does a nose tail ruminant animal have everything that we would need? If we were screwed, could we survive on that?
I think so. I think so. I do think that we're omnivores. We do have a larger colon than you'll find like in cats. I've done extensive research on what the North American Indians were eating. I've done extensive research on what they're calling, the paleo prehistoric caveman, so to speak, was eating.
Yeah.
There was lots of consumption of seasonal fruits, roots, tubers.
Yeah.
The difference is that those for those populations of humans back in those days, those foods were naturally limited. They were limited in quantity, they were limited by season, and they were limited by a geographically, because you didn't have, you couldn't be living in Canada and have access to kiwis. You weren't going to be living in North America and have access to bananas. You weren't going to have access to, big starchy potatoes on the daily throughout the year.
All of these fruits and vegetables that we see in the grocery store are not what the original, mother or father plant or whatever the original plants. I mean, corn, even like the original plant that corn comes from, it looks like a more like wheat, and it was very fibrous. I'm trying to find the pictures of vegetables and fruits in original. I don't know how to Google that, but science alert. I can share this one. Here's what fruits and vegetables looked like before we domesticated them. So I guess this is a plantain or wild watermelons. So it's like, bananas now don't look like this. They're extremely sweet. They're made to, to amp up the sugar. Who was it? I think it was Healthy, healthy vegan or something. Happy, healthy vegan. He was like, he has 10 bananas a day. 10.
Yeah, and that's on the low end, I think, for these banana eating vegans.
Yeah, freely.
Yeah, I've heard of people, eating like 30, 40 bananas in a day.
Doesn't make sense. I mean, 10 bananas is about 300 grams of carbs. About, so you can imagine 300 grams of banana sugar. So here's like watermelons. Now they don't even have seeds anymore. Yeah, modern watermelon. So, you know, this idea here, wild eggplant, carrots. Yeah, this is what I was saying. It looked like wheat, wild corn. So, and this is what we got now. So this idea, you know, that oh yeah, you know, like this is natural, it's nature, and we're it's like no, none of this. Like what one of these would be probably a whole freaking like basket of original peaches, the amount of sugar that you would get, and that's in one freaking peach now. Anyway, so it gives an idea, and here's another one about the agriculture, Smithsonian. Before agriculture, human jaws were a perfect fit for human teeth. And this statement backs up again, sound like a broken record, nutrition and physical degeneration. They had very, very wide jaws. Nasal cavities were wider. Bridge of the nose was wider. And I remember when I was younger, saying like, well, that like, why the hell? Because I was like, well, what would happen before dentists existed when all of these crowded teeth were, you know, because like everyone gets their wisdom teeth yanked out. You know, I thought that was just normal. And I was like, well, that's stupid. Like, why don't our teeth fit? And people were like, oh, it's evolution. And I was like, oh, okay. Anyways, I was like, okay, it makes sense to me. And no, it's a nutrient deficiency, especially you know, in the West. We have ample amounts of calories, and we have nutrient deficiency. And on top of it, there's probably I have a feeling something about wheat stunts growth. I don't know why. There, I don't know. There's something
Phytic
about
acid. Phytic
yeah,
acid.
yeah, like you had mentioned before. Yeah, it makes sense because we all like I got my wisdom teeth yanked out, and it's almost actually in the West, it's considered like aesthetically pleasing to have a chiseled jawline that's kind of narrow, but that's 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 cultural because actually people had much wider jawbones. Before agriculture, human jaws were a perfect fit. The emergence of agricultural practices initiated major changes to the jaw structure of ancient humans, leading to dental problems we still experience. Um, our mouths often just don't have the space to accommodate all the pearly whites. Dental crowding is reportedly the most common reason for orthodontic referrals, and along with malo, malo, malocclusion, a poor alignment of the teeth affects 1 in 5 people. Our ancient ancestors didn't have these same problems. Rather, as a new study has demonstrated, up until about 12,000 years ago, humans had what one of the study's lead author calls an almost perfect harmony between the lower jaws and teeth. The big change, scientists say, came from civilization's transition from hunter and gatherer to farmers. The study published this week analyzed the lower jaws and teeth crown dimensions of 292 archaeological skeletons from the Levant, Anatolia, and Europe from between 28,000 6,000 years ago. Reports University College Dublin, where the study's lead author for archaeology. Our analysis shows that the lower jaws of the world's earliest farmers in the Levant are not simply smaller versions of those of the predecessor hunter-gatherers, but that the lower jaw underwent a complex series of shape changes commensurate with the transition to agriculture. So there's definitely a lot of articles out there. So at least that gives you a little bit of a sneak peek, and go do your own damn research. Look into it.
Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting is if you read the literature that's been put out by and for medical anthropologists, they have to identify if someone finds human bones somewhere.
Yeah.
If they're digging, or they find a human skeleton somewhere, you're supposed to identify the authorities, and so that these can be identified. And so when a medical the medical anthropologists are the individuals that do that, and they don't know, they can't tell just by looking at bones whether or not this individual may have died, in the last 5 years, or maybe could have been, thousands of years ago. It could have been prehistoric, because it is possible for bones to be preserved underground. And so when they look at bones, first thing they do is they check for cavities and signs of infection on the bones. And if they find either one of those, then they can go ahead and attribute these bones as most likely either post-industrial or post-agricultural revolution or pre-agricultural revolution. And if the bones also, where the muscles attached to the bone, you've got these little projections called tuberosities. And in the hunter-gatherer population, those tuberosities are stronger and more robust, more pronounced.
Yeah.
And in the post-agriculture, plant agriculture revolution, say 10 to 12,000 years ago, those tuberosities shrank, probably partly due to a lighter workload for an agricultural, not having to hunt and gather every day.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that plant agriculture lended to the human species is not that farming is easy work, but just an overall easier life. Not as much work, but also the addition of grains to the diet would cause the consumption of phytic acid, which would reduce the absorption and assimilation of optimal amounts of the elements that make up strong bones. And so that would also shrink those tuberosities. So, it's pretty well accepted in the scientific literature that, and really across the board when it comes to, the human sciences, that the hunter-gatherer populations were much healthier and stronger and smarter than modern civilized man.
Yeah. And I also I think that with the agricultural revolution, that's actually where social classes started to appear as well. So it had like a negative. It kind of destroyed these indigenous cultures and stuff like that. Their own culture, that was like just steeped in generations of wisdom on how to eat, and a lot of that was actually lost as well.
Yeah.
All right, so we went through that. I'm just going to bring these down here. Let's go look at some of the comments to see. Bruce was live streaming, my brother, so I'm really surprised that we got up to 11 people. I was expecting not many people.
Dart Father replied, I had to check in the held for review, and for some reason it was caught up in there. So go look at his vegan-esque comment.
All right. I'm going to check it now. Share. I popped it up. Okay, you can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. That was under this one.
Hmm. Tell me your opinion on his whether it's intellectually honest or not.
In short, you are still blaming the vegans for monocropping, while you are actually one of the cause for monocropping. Last chance about monocropping? Question mark. Why do you blame the monocropping to soy only? Soy is a very small fraction of monocropping compared to corn, rice, and wheat. Don't forget the monocropping of palm oil, canola, banana, coffee, sugarcane, others. I can say 99% of the destructive monocropping is due to other crops than soy. So he's
It's
saying,
not true.
in short, you're still blaming the vegans for monocropping. You are actually one of the cause for monocropping. So why are you one of the causes for monocropping?
He's saying because he's assuming that I'm consuming a lot of monocropped foods.
Mm-hmm. Soy is a very small fraction of monocropping. Is soy very small compared to corn? Because it seems like
No.
soy and corn are huge.
Yeah. Soy and corn together. You see, these a soy farmer is usually a corn farmer. And a
Okay,
corn
because they
farm is
alternate.
they'll rotate those crops. And I can't remember, but it's well over 50% of the entire monocropping industry is the soy / corn.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a huge. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to look into this while you're doing that. I heard that, and I don't know if this is true, that if you took the like all of the population, like 8 billion, whatever, and we put them that like 8 billion people could fit in, they were saying like the state of Texas or something. What do you think about the actual space on Earth and stuff like that?
Yeah,
There must. I just haven't.
I was the one that told you that. I looked that up.
You looked it up, right?
Yeah, I looked it up, and
I'm not sure if you're reliable though.
yeah, I know you can always check. You can always double check behind me. I
Yeah,
don't
no, I'll
mind
double
people
check.
fact checking me.
Yeah.
In fact, the more people fact check me, the more I look like a genius. So go ahead.
Level
But
76.
I was going to say what I had read was that if you made one big city with all the people in the world and made them live in one big city, the same density as Paris, France, then that city would be the size of Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, there's no way really for me or maybe the majority of the public to really find out about this climate stuff.
Here,
But I don't buy into it. Like,
can I share? Can I share
yeah,
my?
yeah. I really don't buy the whole climate change bullshit. Seems like they've been crying about the sky falling for a long time. When I was young, it was acid rain. Then there was that hole in the ozone. Then after it was called global warming. Now it's called global change. Are you pulling something up?
Yeah, I put it up there. Look down in the.
Comments then while you're give you time to get that.
No. I'm saying look down next to my little box down there on the Streamlabs page.
Let me see. Yep. Yeah, I see it. Okay. Present screen. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Corn. Yeah, I'll let you explain it there.
Corn and soybeans accounted for half of all U.S.
Crop.
crop cash receipts, cash crops
Mm.
in 2021, and that's the general. From year to year to year, those two crops make up 50% or more of all cash crops. And go back and read the LARPing vegan. He says soy is a very small fraction of monocropping compared to corn, rice, and wheat.
Yeah.
So look at wheat,
Yeah.
and
Rice is
Right.
just so small. It's with all other crops, probably.
yeah. So
I'm surprised. I didn't realize. I thought wheat would be more. I thought there's wheat and everything, but yeah.
well, the thing is that about half of the corn is being used for ethanol production, and about 90% of the soybeans are crushed to extract the oil.
Yeah.
So you've got the biodiesel. Soybeans are biodiesel. Corn is ethanol. Both of those products are not food, but they are products that are consumed by humans. Vegans
yeah.
will try this game where they're like, we're not consuming biofuel. And what they mean is we're not eating it, but read market reports, and you'll see that they even call electronics consumables and things that people are consuming. People even consume podcasts. That doesn't mean that we're eating podcasts. It just means that we're consumers, and we consume fuel, we consume food, we consume water, we consume cokes and grains. We consume television programming, we consume radio programming. You can consume both tangible and intangible things, and also non-food items that are tangible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a big crop. Here, let me just check out some of these comments. Let's go, Carney. It's just talking about Cosmic Skeptic is a former Christian, going atheist. Every vegan cult member keeps crying of hatred from him. Vegan menu relies heavily on food imports from Africa, India, both regions riddled with famine. Yeah, look at is it pistachio or pecans or cashews? Well, probably all of them. But there's one article about these third world countries where the women are taking them out of the shells, but probably the phytic acid and other defense mechanisms on the shell literally cause their fingertips to rot. Like their fingers are that's for the vegan vegan almond milks and stuff like that. Acid in plants, potassium, EASNW. That's a new one. Let's go. Carney says, I know that Darth character. I already schooled him on the soy market. He/she believes free market is an illusion. G Slayer says, fishing is really important to me. I went today, even in the 40s, crushed them too. She uses many accounts, but you can spot him or her by grammar. She uses. he, she, or they, them, or Zimzer. You know, we want to be inclusive on this channel. Who do you think is the worst vegan? Who do you, I guess on
Who do I
YouTube?
think?
Joey? No, Joey or Earthling Ed? What do you think?
Well, Earthling Ed is a bigger activist. He's got a larger following than Joey.
Yeah,
And he's the one that I've caught taking payola from the deadly neonicotinoid pesticide industry. So I guess it would have to be him if I was going to pick one.
where's the evidence for him being in getting monetized by this pesticide company? Is this on a video or
Well, yeah,
video on this?
the evidence is here and there, but I compiled it into a video. I can link you to it and we can watch it.
Yeah, we can watch it now if you want.
All right, let me pull it up.
G Slayer said, fasting and keto gave me back my health in just 11 weeks. Animal fat was key ingredients. Happy, healthy vegan has to be one of the worst. Nah, happy, healthy vegan is just hilarious. Happy, healthy vegan.
Yeah, that guy really.
I mean, they're all especially obnoxious in their own way.
I linked to that evidence
Okay,
there in the private chat.
perfect. I just want to read the rest. Neurotic, Mike the vegan. Yeah, they're all bad. It's like Mike the vegan, happy, healthy vegan. Those two annoying vegans, I think. Then there's Vegan Gains. Then there's the whole debate squad. Ask yourself. There's a lot. Can there be a people whose ancestors only ate plants or only animals? Well, the Maasai's traditional diet, which was pretty much meat, milk, and blood, that was, you could say, completely carnivore. And the Inuit were not completely, they still had some kinds of plants, but very little. But there's no ever in humanity has there been ancestors that ate only plants. There's no culture that has ever done that. That is only possible now because of fortified foods or supplementation. And also the fact that that we can transport food all around the world. Because what the hell would I be eating right now in Canada if we were still just like horse and buggying it? We would have stocked up whatever kind of plants that we wanted to jar for the winter, and the rest would have been, primarily animal hunting. Like JD and me just spoke about. Technically, you can be completely carnivore, and there are no missing nutrients. But you would have to consume the liver at least, right? Like vitamin C would be an issue, I think.
Yeah, I think I do not think that there has ever been, besides today, in today's developed countries like Canada, United States, people do not eat nose to tail. They don't eat liver anymore. Our grandparents ate liver once a week. It's like here in the United States, people would eat liver every week, and like they would do fish. They would like fish Fridays. Everyone would eat fish on Friday. It was a tradition. And eating liver and onions was a tradition. And now everyone's been conditioned through pop culture not to consume things like liver and other organ meats. And it's really not just the fact of the matter is like I said earlier, is that the main difference between the standard American diet, or besides, all of the ultra processing, the soybean oil and all of that. But when it comes to just the macronutrients, the carbohydrates, which when I say carbohydrates in this context, I mean starch and sugar, which are the same thing. The starch and the sugar, the protein, primarily meat protein, and the fat, primarily animal fat. These were there throughout history. There were few, very, very few cultures that didn't consume some plant material, primarily the sugary and starchy ones that would be found in season in certain geographical areas. And if you look at the bodybuilding community right now, one of the things that they will inject besides things like testosterone and other anabolic steroids is insulin. And that's because insulin is very effective at what's called nutrient transport. And so I do think that, whereas the standard American diet consists of about 300 grams of sugar / starch daily, I think that's way too much. But I think that it's wise, in my opinion, to include in the evening meal, and I believe in a OMAD, or 1 meal a day, is the natural way of eating. So I think that a large meal shortly before bedtime is ideal, because it's all of the nutrients and things that you're consuming. It's counterintuitive, because we've been told, you don't want to eat and then go to bed, because then all of that will be stored as fat. Well, yeah, if you've been grazing all day on sugar and starch, and even if you've been grazing all day on protein, then it's likely that you're stacking excess on top of excess and then going to sleep. That's a bad thing. But if you've been fasting all day and you've created this vacuum that's just there ready to absorb all these nutrients, then, and you've been somewhat active, then you're not going to be storing that as fat. You can't store a bunch of fat when your glycogen is far from being filled. That's the first priority. That's the way the human physiology works, is first it fills the glycogen, and when that's full, then anything that's coming in is turned into sugar, if it's not already sugar, and stored as fat. So this idea that eating close to bedtime all goes to fat that's very conditional. It's very subjective to what have you been doing for the rest of the day. I think that during that meal, that end of the day, 1 meal a day pattern, I think that meal ideally is going to have some sugar or starch in it. But I think that for most people, there's going to be a ceiling on that sugar or starch of probably around 15 to 20 grams. There are some people that think that they can't stop there. They tell themselves that I'm addicted to sugar, and if I allow myself, say, half of a medium potato, then I won't be able to stop there. I'll have to break out the chocolate cake, and then I'll have to break out the hard candies and the Snickers bars and really, if you tell yourself that, then guess what? That's probably going to be the case, because our brains are it takes suggestions, and it doesn't matter whether it's coming from someone we respect or if it's self-talk. If you self-talk yourself into an addiction, then you're not going to be able to stop with just half of a medium potato. But I believe that if you're eating 1 meal per day at the end of the day, and you're consuming, say, like a big piece of pot roast and half of a medium potato that is like maybe 16, 17 grams of starch,
Yeah.
then none of that is going to be stored as fat. And that little starch shot is going to give you just a little better insulin reaction, a little stronger insulin shot. And that is going to help maintain muscle better. It's going to help transport nutrients into the cells better. And having just one like medium insulin shot at the end of the day is a whole lot different situation than waking up in the morning, having a bowl of Fruit Loops, snacking on fruit roll-ups all morning and gummy bears before lunch, and then having a lunch with sugar in your tea and a big starch and a little bit of meat and some sugary salad dressing, and then snacking on a Snickers bar, a Milky Way throughout the afternoon, and maybe some popcorn. And, this is just constant insulin. And what people tend to do is they go from one extreme to the other. They think, well, I've been abusing insulin all this time. Now I have to go zero insulin. And really, for someone who's been abusing insulin with constant sugar intake, it's not a bad idea to go all protein. However, if you've been doing that, then chances are you're probably going to be fat. You're going to be overweight. You're going to be carrying excess body fat. And so, in my opinion, the ideal situation there is to fast. And so there's no need, there's no need to try to eat a bunch of protein when you're trying to lose weight. If you're, there's things that you have to do when you fast, like maintaining your electrolytes and so forth. And that's why, if you go, I don't know if you've ever watched Cole, what's his name, the snake juice guy. He Hey, Fatty.
Yeah.
He understands the electrolyte issue very well. And he's got, the snake juice recipe is, I think, ideal. But I think that fasting is a whole lot more effective at not only helping someone lose body fat, but also helping someone reverse insulin resistance.
Yeah. Well, that's why, like, for when it comes, let's say, when I want to help somebody with weight loss, that's why I push keto, because during that 1 year, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, being in ketosis for 1 year straight, going through losing the weight, incorporating intermittent fasting, and giving them at least a year to reverse their insulin resistance. But then I'll always say, like, once you reach your weight, then, and you want to, like, you think it's restrictive, you want to start adding carbohydrates back, but do it slowly. See where you can get it, because I mean, people have different muscle mass, different metabolisms, and all sorts of stuff. So that it's like, hey, now you add 10 grams, check your weight for a week or two. Okay, add, and maybe you can tolerate 150 grams per day and get the best of both worlds. And great, go ahead. Like, for me, until I get back active this summer, running 5K and at least doing some weight, I've been, man, time flies. It's 3 years of COVID. It must be like 4 years that I've literally done absolutely nothing, completely sedentary and stuff like that. And then on top of that, I have 25 pounds to lose. So I still have squish. So I'm like, for me, like, I'm not concerned about topping up my glycogen and having maximum, energy for it, because I'm not doing anything. So for me, my priority is just to lose the extra fat. And
well, what's important to realize is that you don't get energy from that. You don't get energy from it. People think, well, I ate these extra carbohydrates and I don't feel like I drink a cup of coffee, a pot of coffee. No. And that's not the kind of, what it gives you is fuel, and it gives you fuel for exercise. And fuel and energy are two different things. Energy is what you get when you burn fuel. And so there really are very few people who have the muscle mass and the activity level to justify 150 grams of carbohydrates in a day. That's a lot of that's a lot of starch and or sugar to burn in a day for the modern lifestyle. Yeah, it depends on how active you. Now, if you're like, let's say you're low on the totem pole with the highway department, you're the guy that's out there digging ditches with a shovel all day long. Yeah, you can probably justify 150 grams or maybe more, consuming 150 or more grams of carbohydrates a day. But most people who have desk jobs, or even like you working in a hospital,
Yeah.
where you might say, well, I was active because I walked from room 213B over to 313F, and then I took the elevator and had to go over and talk to this doctor, and that kind of activity. No, that's not the kind of activity that burns up a bunch of sugar. But it's
I think when I had the stair, like it would be like 10,000 steps. That's the minimum that most people with a counter try and attain as a bit. Yeah, definitely not. One thing that because I remember at one point you were talking about let's say running, long distance running, glycogen usage, fat, and stuff like that. So this is what I was wondering. So if I'm running just like 5 kilometers, and I'm starting at a slow pace to work my way up to actually be at my fastest at the end. So if I burst too fast, then in my head I was like, okay, if I'm going too intense, then I'm using my glycogen, and then once that's empty, then after I won't have that energy to kick it into high gear kind of thing. But when I would do it on purpose to go slow and not exert too much, and then I'd be able to burst towards the end. So what's your understanding of when we're running, let's say a 5K? So are we burning mostly glycogen the whole time, or is it just when we're bursting? Fat metabolism, like what's your take on that? Marathon runners, are they using fat also simultaneously, or is this just a glucose system here we're dealing with?
I think the only time that you're burning near 100% glucose, and you have to remember that. Well, what I was going to go ahead and finish that statement is when you're in a sprint.
Yeah.
When the intensity of the effort could be classified as a sprint, and I classify a sprint as 100% effort. When you're the intensity of your effort is at the top of the scale, then I think you're burning almost pretty close to 100% glucose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that when you're sprinting, not every muscle in your body is sprinting.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be some muscles that, like perhaps certain muscles in your neck, depending on how, whether you're striding with the left leg or the right leg, not every muscle is going to be giving its all. If that was the case, then we'd just tense up and you'd be like in a seizure. Someone that's in an epileptic seizure where every muscle in their body is contracting at 100%, then maybe that's when we're burning 100% glucose. But as the intensity moves down to, okay, not quite a sprint, but like 90% a sprint, then you're going to be burning a little bit more fat and a little bit less glucose, but mostly glucose. If you move to like a 50% effort, then I don't know exactly what the ratio is going to be, but there's going to be more fat burned and less glycogen or glucose burned. But I don't think that we can move to 100% fat. We're not going to do that. You're never going to be burning 100% fat in your metabolism. So when someone's running a 5K, then they're going to be burning more fat than, say, someone who's running the 400-meter dash. The 400-meter dash is pretty close to a full sprint the entire, if not for some athletes, a full sprint for the entire lap. But the problem with using fat as a fuel for athletic contests is that your body, for that type of intense movement, and it doesn't have to be as intense as a sprint, but let's say a 5K.
Yeah.
Your body you're going to be operating more optimal when you've got glycogen on hand than trying to do it on just fat. And it's not because your body is not good at burning fat. Your body can be ideal at burning fat, but there's something different about burning fat than burning sugar or glycogen, and that is that the actual molecule, the molecule that makes up glucose, actually has an oxygen molecule in it, and that oxygen molecule will help to fuel the burning of the glucose itself. And so the respiratory oxygen that you're bringing in is almost like a supplement to what's already inherent in the sugar molecule. The fat molecule, when you're burning fat, it does not have that oxygen molecule worked into the molecular structure. And so not only does it require more oxygen to burn, but there's no oxygen there to begin with. And so the amount of oxygen that's required to burn fat is much higher than what's required to burn sugar. And most people do not understand how limiting an oxygen deficit is to an athletic performance. It is usually the most limiting element of the performance is a lack of oxygen or a deficit.
Okay. Yeah, because I was running. I think the best I could do for 5 kilometers, I think, was 24 minutes. But I did all of that like strict keto because I was my whole point wasn't actually optimal performance. It was, well, if I run on keto, I'll suck the fat even more because, you know, I'm not feeding it sugar and stuff like that.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's why I didn't. But then I did for fun, you know, add glycogen, and yeah, definitely if I was competing or something like that, yeah, it's definitely not comparable. But there, like, I know when you start the ketogenic diet, and a lot of people, they like measuring their ketone levels, you know, it's exactly like a blood sugar, but it's a ketone. I had one upstairs for fun, and but during the adaptation, like the first couple of weeks, people are all like, oh wow, my ketone levels are 1.5, and ooh, but after that, mine always was about 0.4. And if you look on like in Canada, like a lab, it's 0 to 0.4 is normal, you know. So in my head, it must be that you do become more efficient eventually. You have to, because it builds up at the start. And in my head, it's like, well, because you're not using it maybe as effectively in the mitochondria. And then as you get more and more used to it, and you're in that state, you must be able to use those ketones more efficiently because they don't seem to build up anymore. That's why people are like, oh, ketogenic diet, you know, ketones are acidic. And I'm like, no, like the the pH. My pH was 7.40, straight on normal. But do you disagree with that? That you can become more efficient using fat or ketones over the weeks and stuff like that. Not efficient to the point of saying you could produce energy as fast with fat as you can with glycogen. I'm not saying that, but there. Do you think that's true, or you don't agree at all that there is an adaptation period where you do your body does start becoming a little more efficient at using ketones and fat? Do you do you agree with that, or you don't agree with that?
I think that there is some adaptation that occurs. There is I think that I do not, it's I would agree with, but that agreement would come with a caveat. Number one, your experience was anecdotal. I don't know what your diet was consisting of exactly. I mean, it could have been lean meat. Like let's say someone's on what they're calling a keto diet, and they consume like a lunch consisting of lean hamburger meat. Well, lean hamburger meat is low in fat but high in protein. So that protein is when you reduce the amount of fat and meat, you increase the rate at which that protein can be digested. And by increasing the rate that the protein can be digested, you increase the rate that protein can enter the bloodstream. You increase the rate that the protein can enter the bloodstream, and you'll increase the chances that you're going to have excess protein in the blood. When you have excess protein in the blood, then the excess protein is taken to the liver and transformed into glucose and or ketone bodies, and primarily glucose. And so if you're eating excess protein, fast digesting protein, then your ketone bodies are going to go down. And so someone may think that their ketones are low because they're better at burning ketone bodies, when really what they've been doing is they've been consuming highly digestible excess protein, which is turning into sugar, which is causing your blood sugar to go up. And when blood sugar goes up, ketone bodies go down.
So that would be a good thing, though. That means if you are doing that, even unknowingly, and some days consuming way more protein and stuff like that, you would pop yourself out of ketosis. You would become more using glucose, which would be good because it's good to switch things up anyways, right? Because like I know I used to take because the medication I take at night gives me sugar cravings, so I bought a whey protein that's like almost like 2 grams of carbs in it. Not ideal because there's probably some kind of artificial sweetener or whatever, but at that time I was not concerned about that. So yeah, if you're like scooping 50 grams or 100 grams of whey, that'll have a pretty significant insulin response because that's like completely, digestible, ready. It enters the bloodstream and stuff like that, right? So 100 grams would produce a good amount of sugar quite quickly.
It would. Yeah, it would.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
But, well, the problem with that is that whey protein is not chock full of micronutrients. So you're getting this insulin bump, and the only nutrient shuffling that you're doing is amino acids and sugar. So you're going to be the nutrients you're going to be shuffling into the cells are sugar and protein, which is good, yes, but it's not like there's a bunch of B12. It's not like there's a bunch of choline. There's not like there's a bunch of essential fatty acids there. There's a bunch of nutrition that's missing from a shot of whey. And then also, if you're going to be in other words, what I would say is head and shoulders above that, better would be like a serving of beef liver or goose liver with
Mm,
a half a medium baked potato or
mhm.
half a medium boiled potato. Then you're getting a similar insulin boost, but it's happening simultaneously to getting all of these other paramount nutrients
Yeah,
like B12 and all those others. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, I mean, you're right. You're definitely right that you're going when you consume, a large serving of whey protein, you're going to get a pretty pronounced insulin bump from that. But
yeah,
you're having to go, you're having to turn it into sugar.
mhm,
It is going to the liver. The liver's having to do the work of turning that into sugar when you could skip that and reduce the amount of protein in the meal and just consume sugar, because if you're going to if you're consuming excess protein so you can turn it into sugar, then why not just consume some type of sugar, whether it be starch or sugar, and just keep it, like I say, you serve yourself half of a eating a potato,
yeah,
and that's fucking it. You stop right there. You don't get into this mindset that I can't stop with just that. Now I have to go break out the chocolate cake. Now I have to go break out, because that's bullshit. No one has to do anything. We're made in the image of God. We can make
we have free
decisions.
will. Yeah, we have our willpower and stuff like that. Yeah, no, I used it because I had the medication I take. It just tricks your mind, and all of a sudden it hits, and I feel sedated, and then all of a sudden I'm dying for sugar. So the only way was sometimes. Well, it also helps that I do the one meal a day, not even purposefully. I eat this kind of food, and I'm hungry once a day. Sometimes every few days I'll have 2 meals and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, like I would put the Y protein. I would put some eggs and stuff like that, like not just with water because it was too thin, so to thicken it up. So I had like eggs, and I always had frozen berries. I'd just grab a handful of berries, and the mix together with what tasted like I was cheating, and at least I wasn't binging on icing or something in the middle in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Um, there is. You want to update people? Let's go another 15 minutes, and we'll call it a night. I don't want to go too late. Can
Let's
you just
watch.
give an update about before we watch whatever you want? Uh, the debate, like what's happening? Is there a date? What's
Yeah,
happening in the drama
today's
debate?
today's March the 10th. The debate with Jeffrey Phillips is March the 12th. So it's going to be Sunday at 9 p.m.
Okay,
9
Sunday,
p.m.
East, Eastern or your time?
9 p.m. Eastern. 9 p.m. Eastern
Okay, good. On the Crucible again?
on the Crucible. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so the last one that you did, not with Jeffrey, with Vegan Gays and Nutrivore. Now, when did you find out about the Jim Bob or something coming? His name was Jim Bob.
Yeah. I guess that's his name, Jim Bob. I
Yeah.
found
When
out.
did you find out about that he was popping on with you?
I found out at exactly the same time Nutrivore and Vegan Gays found out. I did not know that he was coming on
Yeah.
at all until
Like
I saw him.
I like Andrew. I think he's a cool guy. I'm just trying like to not be biased. If he criticized Jeffrey and Ali because he's like, well, Ali showed up and you really didn't warn that, and that's inappropriate. It's okay, but just had to call that out. but then after he invites a guy on your debate, which personally I find it just gave them a window to it didn't look good in my opinion, and I don't think that he offered anything. Like, it was almost like, oh well, you're not used to the debate stuff, and it was like, really, like, because you didn't really change what you would have done. Like, Jim Bob didn't coach you or anything like that. I mean, you caught on to the question, that Nutrivore, the first thing. You're the one that right away said, you can think whatever you want. Like, I'm not playing into that game and stuff like that. Like, what were your thoughts? Like, were you surprised? Do you think that it was a net benefit? Nothing against Jim Bob. I mean, the guy doesn't know he was invited and stuff like that. I just find it like a little bit going against his own principles if he's going to go and criticize Jeffrey for having Ali on, and then deciding an official debate that he's going to add somebody. That's
Well,
I was like, why did he do that? I didn't agree with it.
I think that I don't think that he was like I don't think that he saw what was going to happen. I think that he on the one hand, he might be right that if I was going to fall for the trick, which is, if I was going to fall into Nutrivore's trap and enter this dialogue tree where I would have to argue philosophically about hypocrisy, then I might have benefited from Jim Bob's presence.
Mm-hmm.
But I had spent a decent amount of time looking at Nutrivore's channel and watching his debate style. And I knew that he was going to try something like that. And so I'm not familiar with all of the jargon that they use in philosophical debate, but I am familiar with the concepts. I may not know the popular name for the concepts, the jargon, but I do know the concepts, and I am fairly intelligent. One of the things that I have kind of works against me sometimes, and also sometimes in my favor, is that right now I'm a farmer, and yes, I was born into farming and all of that, but I've, like a lot of people know, is I do have a Bachelor of Science degree in kinesiology with a minor in biology. I was a coach for athletes. I did serve as a nutritional specialist for elite athletes for many years. I was an All-American collegiate athlete myself. I understand human physiology. I understand human biochemistry, just general biology. All of those things are like my forte. And I've used them. I use my biology knowledge as a farmer, because what is farming if it's not biology? If you get into the factory monocropping, then you're getting more into chemistry. But if you're doing it right, farming is biology. And so it serves me well here on the farm. But it's like, it's sort of like, jocks. When I say jocks, I mean like male athletes. Jocks don't have a reputation for being intelligent. Farmers don't have a reputation for being intelligent. They have a reputation for being kind of dumb, kind of backwards, kind of backwoodsy, lacking sophistication. And so that when it works in my favor is usually when someone is stereotyping me and they're trying to compete against me. And because they've accepted this stereotypical the stereotypical dumb farmer, then
Yeah.
they usually underestimate my intellect.
Yeah,
And,
which is good.
and that works in my favor. On the other hand, what I think may have happened here with Andrew is that he was underestimating my intellect, and he was thinking, well, Garland's a farmer, probably pretty smart when it comes to crops and stuff like that, but overall he's probably not that sophisticated. He may not be able to see these traps that are going to be laid by Nutrivore, because as I understand it, Nutrivore tried to debate there before, and I think Andrew checked him out, saw that he was kind of slippery and sneaky and snaky, and actually declined allowing him to come on the program. And so this time he allowed him to come on the program because he was debating me. Not that I'm special, but I think Andrew enjoyed, the first debate that I was in. And but I think that he was I think that he thought that I would do something like, fall for this dialogue tree. Like whenever he said, well, isn't this a hypocrisy critique?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what he was thinking was that I would fall for that trap and say, yep, you're a hypocrite. You're a goddamn hypocrite.
Mm.
And then, okay, well then let's spend the next 2 hours waxing philosophical about hypocrisy. And now you've got to dig up this gargantuan amount of empirical evidence, focusing on me proving hypocrisy. And that way, anytime I started talking about the deadly and destructive nature of the factory monocropping that produces the items on the vegan menu, then Nick Nutrivore would be able to say, hold on. Who's talking?
Yeah, we haven't gotten past this. Let's deal with this first. And just
we're still talking about hypocrisy. So why don't you get back on the subject? And so I would be trapped in this hypocrisy loop and never able to expose how deadly and destructive the monocropping is that produces those items on the vegan menu, which is my, the whole, one of my main points over the years has been pointing out that, the vegans are claiming to be holier than thou. They're claiming to be cruelty free. They're claiming to not harm animals. It infringes on animal rights and all of this. And meanwhile, there were several deer that had to be shot in the face so that they could have that corn chowder, or there were several raccoons that had to die just so they could, raccoons and rats and moles and voles and hawks and cougars, and there's secondary poisonings and
tertiary. The one of the last videos I did there, it was a study. They were analyzing for the anticoagulant rodenticide traces in animals, and it was like 78% of coyotes. I mean, it was pretty crazy, and they went at least as far as not even secondary but tertiary, third generation poisoning, from the first animal got poisoned, eaten by the other one, that one got poisoned, and then the other one. And I think it's important for anybody here listening that even if we don't have the actual numbers of crop deaths, we don't have the numbers, but it's not only about numbers. So if ever you're using this argument, pointing that out to a vegan, the point is that it's not, if you had one cow in a slaughterhouse, okay, and the worst slaughterhouse, okay, they're all cramped, okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. The worst slaughterhouse, they are still financially motivated. They still want to go as fast as they can through. So couple of seconds of pain to put the animal out. But the other animal that's in the field, the wild animal that is being poisoned by anticoagulants 4 or 5 days up to, let's say, 14 days. Okay. Even if we're talking about the bare minimum, rodenticides make them suffer 4 days. Well, how many seconds are in 4 days? So are we going to say that one animal that got slaughtered in a slaughterhouse and one wild animal, that's equal? That's one death here and one. Yeah, I know. But when we're talking about suffering, it's the intensity, it's the type of death, and it's the duration. So even if you're looking at a few seconds for a slaughterhouse animal suffering and days on the other side, I don't care if the tally was done and there's 20 times more animals being killed for our food. Well, just one wild animal suffered hundreds and thousands of times more than that one slaughtered animal because it's amplified second after second after second, slow symptoms that occur. And that it's multi-generational. It gets spread down. That's just one chemical that we're talking about, specifically rodenticide. So again, it's not about having one number here. Oh, look, you guys still have more, so we win. No, it's about animal suffering. They're the ones that always bring it up. So it's not one death. It's about the duration, the type, and the intensity. I think that's an important point that needs to be driven home in these debates. They have the advantage that the science hasn't done the count. I think you had compared, JD, once to saying like somebody going like timing themselves in a race and going, look at my time, but there's no other time to compare with. So it's like, fine, we have the numbers for you. Like, what's the record? What's the average? It's like you're just showing us one time without anything. What do you think they did? I don't think they'll ever end up finding the numbers. Do you think that there'll actually be a way of getting studies? Like, is there even any interest in finding those numbers? Because there's the other thing. What's the benefit? Which scientist would benefit from doing this study? I think it would almost be a career killer. You would be ostracized because they don't want to know these answers.
Yeah, they don't want to know the answers, and that's one of the reasons why, they started these studies with just studying the deaths that are caused by the combine harvesters.
Mhm.
And and even today, you've got people like Earthling Ed who are still making speeches about crop deaths and painting it as, I've listened to one today that was recent that he did, and he's still not addressing things like pesticides or shooting the animals that wander into the crop fields, or the runoff into the streams, and the red tides, and the dead manatees, and the dead dolphins, and the dead fish. And so he's saying, things like, you have to consider that these animals that, and he was using one of the studies that I think Jeffrey pulled up and said, they did this study where they went through and they counted the number of a certain species of rodent, and then they harvested the field, and then they went through and measured or counted the number of individuals from this rodent species in the field and in the immediate periphery around the field. And what they found was that the populations of this rodent increased in the periphery of the field, and the immediate the immediate area surrounding the field that had just been harvested. And number one, just that if you take an ecology class, then what you'll learn is something called dispersion. And every animal has a certain dispersion rate. And if they become more concentrated than that, then certain number of them will starve to death. So in other words, if you take an area that has is a natural area, and you take 50% of it and you mow it down, and you kill a few, let's say it's, some type of rat. You kill a few of these rats in the mower, but the majority of them run away from the mower, and they enter the territory of the rats that were living in the other 50% of the area. Well, now you've doubled the population density in that area, and the natural dispersion rate has been destroyed. And now you've got twice the population that would be able to survive on the resources, because these dispersion rates are dictated by resources, and the resources will dictate what the population density of any given species will be in an area under a natural environment. And so whatever the dispersion rate is, or the population density is, of these rats in a natural field, you double that, and now you've decreased the amount of resources available to each one of those individuals. You're going to cause conflict, because now you've got a big boar rat that's now in the territory of another big boar rat. They're going to fight, possibly to the death. If they don't fight to the death, then one of them or two of them, both of them, might be gravely injured. They might both die from the injuries. And if they don't die, then they might starve to death, because now you've doubled the population without doubling the resources. So the fact that all they're doing is running away is almost irrelevant, because now what you've done is you've set the stage for suffering, not only for those animals that fleed, but also for the animals that are in the territories that they're fleeing towards and into. Because now all of them are going to suffer, not just the ones that were living in the area that got mowed down, but in the areas, it's just like right now where we have all of these immigrants coming in. I
was about to say forced migration.
Yeah.
At
Right.
the same time, I was about to say, go ahead.
Yeah. So have certain amount of resources that's being already fully utilized by the population that's already there. And now you've doubled the population. Now you've put every one of those individuals into a situation where there's only half as much of resources as they actually need to thrive and survive. And so the fact that they're able to run away is really irrelevant. But these vegans will use studies like that focus on one species, and they'll count them before and after the harvester. They don't count any of the animals that are killed by gunmen. They don't count any of the animals that are killed from pesticides. And you were talking about rodenticides a while ago, with secondary and tertiary poisonings, where there's this cascading effect. But even with things like insecticides, where, the target might be a certain locust or grasshopper, but these are really indiscriminate. They don't just kill they don't have any pesticide that just kills a grasshopper. You'll kill all the other insects, will die as well. And then you have the birds in that area that will breathe in that pesticide, and they'll be injured. And a high percentage of those will die from just breathing the insecticide. So birds are dying from insecticides, and then many of these birds, a large portion of their diet was the insects who were now wiped out by the pesticides. And so now the birds are left with no food, because you've now, with your insecticide, you've killed all of the individuals that would have made up the diet of the bird. So now the bird ends up starving to death. And that's a whole nother, we could do the math on the suffering of, I hear that starving to death is one of the most miserable ways to die that there is. So, you could add up all that suffering as well. The thing I've run into lately is that once I hammer all of this suffering issue home,
Mhm.
then what they do is they move the goalpost, and they'll say, well, it's not about, for me, it's not about suffering. My veganism is not about suffering. I don't really care, but it's about rights violations. And it's not really a rights violation to kill someone who is trespassing and destroying your property. So this is all boils down to protecting one's life, protecting one's property, protecting one's food, and so they'll use that as an excuse. They won't address the fact that, to begin with, you stole the, if you're giving these animals rights, then those, to begin with, before you ever put that field of monocrops out there were wild animals out there that were using that property. So you came in and you stole their property. So you were the initial criminal. You went out there and stole their property first, and then when they came back and tried to utilize the food that you grew on their property, now you're going to go out there and shoot them in the face with a shotgun, because now you're saying that they're encroaching on your property.
Mhm.
And then you say, well, and that suffering is okay because of property rights. It's really ridiculous. But they don't give property rights to animals. The vegan will not give property rights to animals. They're very speciesist.
That's the
when it
limit
comes-
where
yeah.
they stop.
Yeah.
As if it's like, okay, so I'm a farmer and some guy's in my field, I'm gonna go grab a gun and shoot him in the face because it's my property that he's on. That doesn't work either.
Yeah, there's nowhere in the world that it is allowed to shoot someone that trespasses onto your property and helps themselves to a carrot. You can't go out there and execute that individual. You cannot. But that's what the vegans are trying to justify.
Yeah.
And I had one of the vegans, I was making this point, and they try to turn this whole thing around and say, it's ridiculous. You, an animal farmer, you're trying to act like you care about these animals' lives. You don't care about these animals. They're trying to change the subject, trying to turn the tables on me. I'm not the one running around in high heels and a skirt screaming about how virtuous I am and how my diet is cruelty free, and that I need to legislate that everyone eats the same diet that I do, and anyone that eats a different diet than me be criminalized and potentially executed or thrown in prison, and so that I can feed them whatever whatever diet I want to feed them. This is the vegan mindset, and what they're doing is they constantly move the goalposts. And what I've found is that if you're going to effectively debate vegans, then you have to be able to predict where that goalpost is going to move, and you just have a counter for every action and reaction and goalpost move that they make. And you have to, because otherwise you're going to come up, you'll come up to that, things like, if I had not had, because I've been debating vegans in my comment section for years, if I hadn't had that experience, and it's very possible that Nick the Nutrivore could have trapped me into that dialogue tree, because I wouldn't know that mentality. I wouldn't be familiar with that intellectual dishonesty that we see in the vegan and animal rights activists.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just showing this one.
Yeah, the crop protection shooting.
Yeah, here, I like the volume. Did you hear something, Judy? I heard something, I think. I'm not sure. The
I
pigs
hear
are
the
squealing. Still tripping. crop deaths, though. Yeah.
But those aren't vegans that are shooting those pigs.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a share screen up there.
It's funny because it's disrespectful too. Like they joke about it, right? Crop death, though, and they tease you. You know, what's the other new thing there? By the bean or something? By the bean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Bada bing.
yeah, bada bean. And there's vegan logic like that has the one about crop deaths, and you know, they all laugh at it like oh yeah, fine. Like really, if they're really talking as if like really like you think that the cows that are giving milk are raped, you know, and that we're literally like murders, you know, like we're murdering a baby piglet, we're killing a baby child, like really, like because any death, if you really were believing that, then you'd be just as horrified and appalled by the deaths that occur because of monocropping. So it just shows that they're just such hypocrites. Poppy fields here in Tasmania have strict regulations to try and keep people out. Still doesn't stop people taking them, making tea, and dying. Off topic, I noticed Juliet Autumn's views are way down thanks to GF. Who's Juliet Autumn? Do you know?
Yeah, she's this gal who's got a YouTube channel. She came on the scene as a kind of a carnivore slash paleo or you know, grass-fed beef enthusiast, and she kind of infiltrated our anti-vegan community, and she even tried to have me on and interview me, although I noticed some weird things she was saying, so I kind of backed out. And then pretty soon she started just little drips, little bits at a time of kind of vegan propaganda, and kind of starting to demonize saturated fat. I think it started with demonizing saturated fat, and then demonizing animal protein, and then she started praising seed oils and trying to debunk the idea that seed oils were inflammatory. And then she started demonizing heme iron and promoting non-heme iron supplements. And going back, I saw that she had been interviewed by the Canadian, she's in Canada. She had been interviewed by this Canadian magazine, Canadian Beef Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And I know something about these organizations, like the National Cattlemen's Beef Association here in the United States, is they've been captured by big corn and big soybean, and big corn and big soybean wants to divert their protein away from livestock and sell it on the human market, because anything that you can, any substance that you can sell for animal and human consumption, the human version of it will be much more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so the profit margins for soy protein isolate for human beings is probably 10 times higher than the soybean meal protein that you would sell and market to animals. And so what they're looking to do is all of the soybean meal that they're selling to animals right now, selling for animal feed, they want to be able to sell that as human feed. And the profit margins will be much, much, much higher if they just put a different picture on the box and market it to
Oh, yeah,
them.
exactly. Do you know this channel? Happy Valley Free Range Farm?
Yeah, isn't that Dennis?
I don't
Is
know.
that in Australia?
I don't know. But anyways, this is the one that he was talking about.
Yeah,
That is
that's
a paddock
Dennis.
livestock.
Oh, yeah. That's him. Yeah, I recognize the voice. Here, let's play it. Encourage him. Subscribe to this guy's channel too, guys.
People, just out here doing a bit of clean up and the fencing. This is our sheep. This is Rowena. Usually comes up for a pat. I think she's a bit warm today. But while I was working on this, it's just spanning around our property here. It actually ends at those trees just there. So just over that fence is our neighbour. And I was just thinking about some things that some vegans have been saying about how livestock destroy the land. Yeah, our paddocks are a bit dry at the moment. It's just that time of year. And then you can see that paddock right there at the top below that tree line. That's our neighbour. He probably heard me mention on one of the lives I did with Galen Farms about where he can and can't put his livestock. That is a paddock where he can't put his livestock. Look at it. It's just been baled up. You can probably see these tiny little bales, the square bales that he's baled up. But you can see the paddock beside that and that road going up over the hill. That other side is a dairy. Now, they haven't put their cows in there for about a month, I believe. Look at the difference, and they haven't even touched it. It's more... it's obviously taking in more water.
Yeah.
Now, that farmer at the back, you can see that green line of stuff.
So what he's pointing out here is that they're in the arid part of the year. So it's arid this time of year there in Australia where he is. And he's showing you this field. And so what they do over there is, and they do that here too, where if you're on contract with a certain monocropping industry, then there are certain rules that you have to follow that are contractual. And one of those rules is that you cannot bring livestock onto the property that you're growing these plant foods on. And so that way they have to use, the synthetic and mined fertilizers that destroy soil health, and along with the tillage, cause the soil carbon to be mined out of there. It evaporates and basically evaporates into the atmosphere, and so the soil becomes carbon deficient, and carbon deficient soil has a hard time absorbing and holding water. And so what he's showing is you can see with the eye how much browner that field is than the surrounding fields that have livestock on them.
Yeah.
So the other fields, while they're kind of brownish, you can see a green tint to them, and there's more vegetation on the paddocks that have animals grazing on them, whereas the paddocks that have had animals corporately banned from them, they're drier.
Yep, that's easy to see. Okay, let's look through this quick. There's another video, right? There's something you wanted to play right after.
Yeah, I wanted to show you that you asked me where the evidence is that Earthling Ed is being financed by the deadly neonicotinoid pesticide industry.
Yeah. Okay, we'll watch that one after.
That's a silage, which was cut from just in front of that big dam there, which is a natural dam, by the way. Our dam is just on the other side of that big tree in the foreground. And if you look beyond those, you'll see over our neighbour's messy place that he's currently cleaning up. Been encouraging him to do more of the regen ag stuff, and thankfully he's taking it on board. You can see
That farmer's cows are just over that fence line there. That's part of the property behind us. And look at the difference in the pasture. Now that wouldn't be like that if the cows went on there. He's building the diversity, same as the next farm over. You can see that big tree stump, or the trees come down and there's a bit of it on the ground. That's actually a different farm. Now you look up behind their property house, and that bunch of trees are right in the middle of the center of the screen, and you may be able to see a big linear irrigation.
It's just horrible how dominated and paralyzed they make these farmers. Like you can't have ruminant animals walking over this land. Like there's that is pure just greed and corporate, corruption. Like there's nothing else. There's no other reason than because it benefits the big companies and we have you by the balls. So suck it up, buttercup kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's another.
That's the thing. Like, with the ruminant animals, right? Building the topsoil, building the vegetation offers us all the, the food that we need. Farmers that do crops, collect the seeds, replant, the seeds for the next. It's like, it's free. It's just a beautiful, normal cycle that really can just keep on. And then especially if you're combining all of these, plant crops with ruminant animal, manure and stuff like that, and rotating and stuff like that, these are ruminant animals on it for this season and a different crop, or, this is the way it can be extremely sustainable. And it's so easy. It's so easy to get to where we need to be. And kind of, I don't think that we'll ever get there. The closest thing to returning this way is if civilization itself collapses, and then things will just naturally return back to that cycle. I don't think if us humans are smart enough, the majority, to demand, reform. But
I'm not sure what they're growing at the moment, but look at the soil. They've got to use petrochemical fertilizers to be able to grow on there. And look how sparse it is.
He's looking here.
It's the same. If you can see up between those trees, that paddock pasture right behind there, that's a grazing pasture. That one just to the left of it, where it's a bit sort of browner, that's another cropping. And just look at the difference. So you tell me that livestock are damaging the environment. Mm-hmm. People are a bunch of clowns, too busy listening to propaganda. It needs to stop. There's the dairy. It's behind us. Look how green that is over there. That's where they currently have cows, I believe. Actually, no, that's a lie. The cows, if you look at the very top of the hill, you can just see the black dots. But look at the difference in the pasture and the greening. That pasture just beyond the building that you can see at the top there, with just ahead of the trees, that is also the dairy. And I believe they have just moved cows out of there, and I believe they've put them up the top there as part of their rotational grazing. And they'll probably get moved, I believe, on Sunday again. They do it every 2 or 3 days, I believe, from what I've seen. But they also run, I can't see it at the moment, they also run a couple of chicken tractors on their pastures, which is something that we're looking at doing. And it'll help these guys get their manure and their nutrients back into the soil. Thankfully, it's not raining today. It's still a bit warm though. That's our neighbours along the back there, that fence line. That's the end of our property there. And the pasture is very clean and has horns. That's Persephone, but she's not going to come up.
He doesn't produce a lot of content. Hopefully he's going to start doing more.
Yeah, I think he is. And I think we're gonna collaborate, and we're gonna try to have some.
Am I the only subscriber? Because I subscribe, so I'm the one.
I think that's a new channel.
Does he have an older one?
Yeah, I think he's got another one where he also does some woodworking. He's got some he's got a wood lathe that he makes some beautiful bowls and pins and things. Yeah, it's a new channel.
All right. So let's the calf didn't make an appearance in the video. Yes, new channel. Is that the other one? Diamond Design?
Yes. Yes.
I recognize that name. I think
Yeah, that's
he
Dennis.
showed up with that at one point. Damon Design. Is it backwards? It's spelled right, right? It might. This.
That's Diamond Design.
Oh yeah. He can post a
It's
link.
got an E at the end, not an O.
Here?
Yes.
That one.
There it is.
All right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we have to start assembling these farming channels, people that are farmers and stuff like that, try and like network, get panels and stuff like that, because the public will take a lot more serious what a farmer says. That's what's valuable, what you bring to the table and stuff like that. I never thought of farmers as like dumb or anything like that there, but
Well, maybe not dumb,
this had
but
much mysterious. No, I know
unsophisticated.
Yeah.
Unsophisticated, maybe.
Yeah,
Simple, you know.
simple.
And I certainly do value the simple life. I love that song, Simple Man.
Yes, that's I don't know where it is. That's Michelle's, my wife's favorite song. She always reminds the kids about that. Yeah, we used to have it. Where is it? Let me see if it's still here. Oh yeah, there. Oh, Simple Man. That's the words to it. It's a great song. Back when songs actually had wisdom and truth in it. All right, let's check out your channel video.
Yeah, I'll just tell people what this is. This Jason, I made the statement earlier that there was evidence showing that Earthling Ed is financed by the deadly neonicotinoid pesticide industry, and he said, "Well, where is your evidence for that?" And this is what that is.
I just want to remove this. All right.
All right, you ready?
Yep. Sorry, a second. Getting confused. I'm just gonna stop. Okay. Is it me that has to press play? It's you, that presses play?
Yeah, me.
Okay. I was having a brain fart. Go ahead.
Okay, you can let this play because it's only 2 minutes and 39 seconds,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to give you a copyright strike.
Perfect.
Hello, this is a public service announcement to vegans worldwide. Just to let you know that Earthling Ed is accepting considerable financial support from a major umbrella corporation called Blue Horizon. Blue Horizon is a major stakeholder in a company called Ag Biome. AgBiome profits very handsomely from selling deadly crop protection pesticides that cause death and suffering both to wild animals and humans. Here are just 7 of the harmful crop protection pesticides that help fund Earthling Ed's harmful activism. I will include links in the video description below so that you can learn more about the deadly pesticides that help finance Earthling Ed's harmful activism. So if you're a disciple of Earthling Ed and you're not a misanthrope posing as an animal lover and are actually sincere about caring about animals, it might be prudent that you rethink your loyalty to someone who claims to be for the animals while simultaneously accepting donations from an umbrella corporation that owns companies that gain profits from products known for poisoning animals and causing ecological damage. This concludes this public service announcement to vegans worldwide, and thank you for watching.
Good one. Was that brought to you by your propane company or?
Yeah, so propane and propane accessories.
All right. Hi, Jason. Hey, Peter. Bruce's live must have finished. All right. You want to end the show there? We've gone 2.5 hours. Told my wife
Let's wrap it up and
cool. We'll do a live stream. You said next week on your channel, maybe after the debate, I guess.
Yeah, I'll remind everyone that I'll be debating Jeffrey Phillips again on the Crucible channel, and that'll be this Sunday, March the 12th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Be there.
Yeah. Brought to you by Big Meat. Where can I sign up? All right.
Yeah, thank you for everyone. Thank you to everyone that showed up for the live stream.
Yeah, I'm surprised we had 11 people still.
Thank you for your support.
Yep. Make sure to go see Garland Farms channel. Don't miss the debate. And that's it. Have a good one, Garland. I'm kicking you out.
Good night, Jason.
See you guys. All right, guys. JP with his wife, 2 against. Oh, yeah. Jeffrey with his wife, 2 against you again. Maybe. Yeah. I don't think technically it's his girlfriend. It's not his wife, I think, because they never corrected us. Maggie and pink waving. Hey, Aléa, ça va, man? Ça veut dire que je pense que le live stream à Bruce, il doit être terminé, là, parce que Margaret, elle arrive, toi, t'arrives, Peter. Malheureusement, là, regarde, tu veux-tu embarquer, dire un petit salut avant qu'on finisse le live? If anybody wants to come on for another 5 minutes or so, just to say hi. I'm not going to stay on too much longer after, but I'm going to give anybody the opportunity to jump on now. have a 5-10 minute little chat, and that's it. Going once. I'll give another minute or two. And Matar Moshar Watson. Elementar. Elementary, my dear Watson. That's what Elias says. He has also a channel, Elias. What is it again? Not for me this time. Hey, Pete.
You're right.
How are you, man?
I'm good, yeah. How are you?
I'm good. Is this Peter Benton, right?
That's it, yeah.
All right. Were you on Bruce's live tonight?
Yeah, it's just finished not long ago, yeah.
Was it an open panel?
Yeah, there was Gabba Beast was on, and we had Joel again. He was having a right old nat.
What was it was something about the topic was on Canada or something? Something happening in Canada, or what was it stream mostly about?
It was all sorts of things, Jace. It was all sorts of things. Mostly about the moon and all sorts of different things, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was kind of mixed up. I didn't even get a chance to get half of what I wanted to say on my notes. So we just leave it to the next stream, basically. I just wanted to come on to say, do you remember having a conversation with me about getting me on a program with my weight and whatnot?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to get that started.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So you'd be interested in doing the ketogenic diet as a method to lose weight?
Yeah. Well, what I'm trying is, I'm trying this thing where you're only having a meal at night time before you go to bed, just like a light meal.
Yeah.
And I'm eating like, I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but I'm only eating like meat products. Like I'll find myself going, I won't put a meal together as per se. I'll like get some pork belly out, cook that, like really cook it, and then I'll eat that, and then I'll go to bed. I just feel like maybe am I overdoing it with the meat? What I'm doing right? I just need some guidance, basically.
Okay, so the first most important is actually just knowing what you're not supposed to eat. So you're clear about carbohydrates, right? You're clear that pasta, rice, grains, legumes. During the weight loss phase, I would ease off even on milk. Like I would stick to cheeses and stuff like that there.
That's funny you say that, Jace, because I've got rid of my milk, but I've kept my cheese, and something's just wrong with me. That something tells me I've got to keep the cheese because of the fats in it, but milk's from cheese. Well, cheese is
the only reason I say to avoid it is the sugar content. That's it.
Right.
Because you want to do like keto, which technically, if you would go, the macronutrients would be 20 grams. So what I suggest is, as long as you know where the carbs are, first of all, avoid that, and then eat whatever animal food that you want. I don't care if it's eggs, fish, beef, chicken. Eat whatever you feel like. And if you're doing the one meal a day, don't skimp. Like really eat until you're satisfied. Okay. And you can eat that at the end of the night. Like JD and I mentioned, and maybe you weren't there, you're not going to get fat. Like this idea of, oh, well, if you eat just before you go to bed and then you're sleeping for 8 hours, you're going to get fat. And like JD had mentioned, yeah, if you're eating carbohydrate meals all throughout the day, and then after you have this, and you're all topped up with your glycogen storage, you're sugar filled, and then you have this meal that probably might even have carbohydrates there, and then you go to bed, yeah, you're overdoing it. Like you don't need it, and you would get fat. But somebody who's been doing one meal a day or intermittent fasting, by the time you get that meal late in the day, a few hours before you go to bed, well, you've been fasting for like 16 plus hours. There's
Man,
no
it's-
way in hell that that's going anywhere fat. Now, the traditional ketogenic diet would literally, there'd be like a macronutrient calculator, and it would tell you, how many grams of fat that you have to eat, how many grams of protein. I don't do any of that. I talk about eating ketogenically, which is eating animal food. So if you're eating all this animal food and you just happen not to have side dishes of vegetables, we call that the carnivore diet. And if you throw some vegetables or fruits that day, it's called keto diet. Like it's the same thing. Like carnivore diet it induces ketosis. Ketosis happens when you are not feeding your body sugar. It automatically will switch to fat burning. And it doesn't only use fatty acids, it converts some of those fatty acids into what they call its molecule ketone bodies. It's fat fuel. Either way, fatty acids, ketones, it's fat fuel. There is two things. There's a benefit hormonally because each macronutrient affects insulin differently. So if you have within the carbohydrates, you have complex carbs and you have simple carbs. So the simple sugars, they spike insulin very quickly and the highest. Protein does have an insulin response, but a lot less. And fat, really, we could almost say it doesn't have an insulin response. So the minute you spike insulin, you're in an anabolic state, a building state, and you're not going to be burning fat at that point. The insulin has to slowly return, back, the baseline to, it has to return to zero, and then after you start getting in more into a catabolic state. So if you are eating a ketogenic diet but you're eating too much fat, what happens is you're gonna stall or plateau your weight loss, because what's happening now is you removed the sugar as a fuel, right? So the only other fuel is fat, and we'd like it to be the stored fat. But if you're eating no carbs, but you're really having a lot of fat, dietary fat, then you'll be in ketosis, but you won't be accessing your body fat because you just
No.
supplied all the fat
Yeah.
nutritional, right?
Yeah.
So
You'll just be replenishing it, won't you?
yeah, so that's why, like, over time, I tell people, I'm telling you what kind of food to eat. Don't calculate anything. The only thing you need to calculate or to understand is what is carbs and where are they? Because a lot of people, you don't seem to have that issue. They don't understand. They think like, oh, I don't eat sugar, so they think white sugar or something. They don't realize that like carrots, starches, the bread, these are all sugar, so we could usually say glucose. So that's why continue exactly what you're doing. Eat until you're satisfied, especially if you're doing that one meal. There's no problem if you're doing that one meal right before bed. That's pretty much it. Like, don't go after fat. Like when keto got popular, people were doing like coconut oil in their coffee. And it's not that these things are bad. I just think that you don't have to go overboard. So I think that by eating mostly the fat in animal food, you'll get the fat. Eggs, you have the egg yolks, there's fat. Chicken, unless it's the driest chicken breast that you have, with the skin, you're getting some fat there. Beef has fat, steak has fat, fish have fat. Like, so you're getting the natural fat, and you can add butter, if you want, and that's it. You don't need that much. It doesn't have to be that. I would say it's more like a 50-50 kind of macronutrient breakdown between protein and fat, and that will vary. What if you're having a leaner cut steak that day? Who cares? That steak happens that was a leaner day, and then you might have a day where it's like a lot more fat. You had bacon, egg, sauce.
Yeah.
So that's way more natural. So I say eat ketogenically, and that's why I can almost switch carnivore with with keto at this point, or I call it animal-based keto or keto carnivore. I don't know what to call it, but it's definitely not trying to attain certain amounts of grams of fat. When you would, if you lean out and you get to your ideal body weight, your appetite will naturally increase then. When you're in a fat loss, you have to supply fat, but you don't have to be sucking and gorging yourself on fat. And then as you lean out, once you're lean, your body will send you the signals. I need more fat. I'm craving this. It will send proper signals. For me, my opinion, the minute you start incorporating a lot of sugar, it screws up your signals, and you can't trust your cravings. But if you stick just primarily to animal food and non-starchy vegetables, you'll trust it. You'll know when you're hungry, and the limited amount of, and I don't find it limited. What is limiting eating shrimps and garlic butter and cheese in the oven, and then having bacon and eggs, and then having steak, and then having, like, I don't find it restrictive at all. And people that say these kinds of diets are restrictive, it's because they're still under the spell of cravings, like they're craving. I don't crave. I get hungry, and it's an appropriate signal at an appropriate time.
Right.
And if you think like you have the best steak, okay, and you eat it, have another one. You can't. At one point, like the body tells you when you're consuming fat and protein, I'm full. Like you can't gorge yourself more and more. Eventually, you'll be like, I can't take that last bite. Now grab. Even if you finish that and you can't, go grab a tub of ice cream, and you'll still be able to shove that shit in your face because it doesn't have a signal of satiety. Fat and protein, for animal fat and animal protein, has satiety hormones that are secreted that let you know I'm full. Okay. And carbohydrates don't have that, because in nature, we were supposed to gorge ourselves on any carbohydrates that we could find because they were hard to attain, or they were seasonal. Even in certain geographic regions, it's seasonal. So, and you notice that the fruits and stuff are at the end of the season as we go into fall and winter. So it's perfect. Humans were supposed to be eating the animal food, but getting in season all of this fructose and fruits and stuff like that to create a bit of fat and cushion as they entered the fall and the winter season. It makes sense. So
Yeah.
why would you want a satiety signal to tell you stop consuming? I read this up 5 years ago when I was doing the ketogenic channel here and stuff. I please fact check me on the satiety mechanisms that don't exist with carbohydrates. I'm almost sure that that's true. I'd have to this is something I read 5 years ago that stuck in my head, but it made sense. So how much weight have you lost so far, and how long have you been kind of trying this? Is this new?
To be honest, not that much. Not that much. It doesn't seem like I've lost anything, to be honest. I have lost a bit, maybe half a stone, but then that's where I'm going wrong. I'm having too much. I'm trying to stick to the fish because of the low fat intake, but I'm finding, like you said, with the craving, I'm going back to the pork belly, and I'm having a lot of pork belly. So like it's that cycle of the fat. So I need to have less of that. I just thought because it felt right that my body needs it, that maybe with the fats in the acids and that you need in the fats up, maybe that's why I was craving it so much, because my body was telling me I need it. And I'm also having nuts as well, and I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to take that out or just reduce having nuts.
Probably reduce it. A lot of nuts have a lot of fat and a lot of carbohydrates. There's fiber in it and stuff like that. And we tend to overconsume nuts too. Like I don't know if you're just grabbing like a little packet or
Little packet.
you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for fun, you could look on the side of the nutritional facts or Google nutritional facts for whatever nuts that you're eating, and yeah, you could seriously pack in without realizing like 100 grams of sugar, of carbs, and over 100 grams of fat just in one sitting, which is forget about weight loss that day. So I would go on a definitely not a high fat, just chill out, eat more like, I don't know, do you like eggs?
Yeah, I'm like, it's crazy how you've mentioned a lot of these foods because I am actually whacking bacon and eggs and a bit of cheese
Yeah.
on there and having that as a meal as well.
Yeah. So don't go overboard on the fat during the weight loss period. Like try it and get a decent amount of steak in there, to see if you're still hungry. Have a second steak if you have to, and see how you go. But how long? A couple of weeks, or not even, or you're just starting? You're not consistent.
I've been doing it for like two, maybe 2.5 months now.
Okay, so 2.5 months. And you said you lost half a stone?
Yeah, but I think I'm putting it back on because of the pork belly. Like I said, it got hard for me. By the second week, it got hard. I was finding it so hard because I was so used to I usually go to work without having breakfast anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll have my lunch break and I'll eat. And then obviously when I go home, I'll eat. So then when I decided I wanted to get on this, I was just having the one meal of meat.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my decision before I actually spoke to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt that that's what I needed to do. And then obviously when I started watching more of your streams and you telling people about the good in meat and all this and not what, I was like, I'm on the right path there. I just need some more better guidance to what foods I need to take out and what I need more of. And so then I'm doing this one meal thing, sticking to it, and then I'm finding, oh my God, halfway through the second week, I really need to get my food back on the middle of the day because I can't do this anymore. And I fought through it, and now my body's like, I can feel the change, and I'm getting used to that one meal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I said to you, I felt like, am I doing the right thing, having a lot of fat, or am I? Because I'm eating a lot of pork belly, Jason, and I'm eating a lot of bacon as well.
Yeah, I think that which actually shows the fact that you're not putting on weight. You lost a little and you're stalled, right? So just imagine all of that fat that you're eating, and it's still not even making you put on weight. That's an important thing that people wouldn't think of. They'd be like, "Oh my God, like you probably put on 20." So that's good. You're probably definitely eating too much fat. So eat as many eggs as you want, ground beef, steaks.
That's one thing I ain't having, Jason.
He's off on the bacon. He's off on the bacon and the pork belly. I'm trying to think what pork belly is in Canada. Which part? Because we don't call it.
We actually call it belly draft here.
Pork belly. Let me see. Well, I mean, it's not bad, but just try and have like here's one thing that I did, and this is not sustainable. Like you can't sustain yourself on no carbs and very low fat and just protein. That's not sustainable. But you can do that for short periods at a time, and it just makes sense. I'm limiting the carbs, so I don't have that fuel source, and I'm not going to spill over my glycogen because I'm not eating any glucose, so I'm not going to be storing fat that way. Great. So that's the first thing. But if you have a high protein day that is overall pretty lean, then you're forcing your body to really go after now your
That
fats,
fat, yeah,
because now you're not supplying any.
you're cutting that off, ain't you? Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
going
I,
for it in the body. Got
yeah,
it.
I did that. Let me show you this. Your channel. Okay, I'm going to share it. Yeah. All right. So it's the one that I lost. I think it was 12 pounds in 30 days about. Sorry, this won't be long. Yeah, here, yeah. You see, I did them like almost the next day. Carnivore diet, lost 11 pounds in 32 days, and then in 30 days, and then 12 pounds in 32 days. And what I was doing for that was I ate pretty much lean steak for a month for 30 days.
Wow.
And I did that knowing for a purpose. It was like, no, I want to see how fast, like, I'm just going to eat lean steak. I must have thrown eggs here and there in there, but overall, right? Overall, I went very lean, no carbs, and really skimped on the fat. You can do that for 30 days. There's no problem that if your purpose is to suck as much fat as possible. Human beings, we went through all sorts of stuff. Plenty. We went through seasons where we had carbohydrates in certain geographical locations, and we also went through periods where we had access to animals, but the animals themselves were lean because they were on fat. So we humans have been able to sustain themselves too through periods of just the animals are lean, and so but long term it's not sustainable. I think they call it rabbit starvation. It's an actual thing where people would find themselves in positions where they were able to hunt animals, but they just were not able to get enough fat and stuff, and that can cause issues. But for 30 days, I mean, shit, you can fast for 30 days and not eat anything. So no one can tell me that eating lean steak as a method of just getting to your goal as fast as possible is wrong. There's no danger at all. Name me the physiological process. Now, would I say, like, I'm telling you, that's a hack. Like, I'm just telling you that if you do that, it just makes sense and it does work. I've done it on myself. I lost a lot more weight than I would have on doing keto with a higher fat, but don't continue doing that, or you can do 3 days lean, 4 days normal fat, but lean
Could I
out.
could I do the 4 days lean with fish, or maybe switch it up?
Yeah. I mean, I think the most natural thing is to switch it up and stuff like that. Keep your body guessing.
Yeah.
Also, I would say if you're sticking to this kind of animal food, then don't force one meal a day. Still eat if you're hungry, because I think I've noticed that I do one meal a day because I'm only hungry once a day. Sometimes I'm not hungry that day and I don't eat. But then some days I'm hungry, and for 2-3 days in a row, I'll have 2 meals because my body's telling me I'm hungry. So I'm never like, oh my God, I got to make it till tonight. I can't eat. No, don't do that. If because that might be you're trying to stretch it, and over time, and then you're too much in a calorie. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but definitely you could lean it out with some lean steaks. Let's say 3 times a week. Just stick to, like, all I'm eating is like lean steak for 3 times during the week, or 3 days in a row, and then switch to just a normal fat, normal animal food and stuff like that. I would chill out on bacon, or going after all all the fat and stuff like that. Because like when I make a blade roast, like a slow cooker, I mean, there's tons of saturated fat, that's hard on the top after when it cools down, and there's gelatin and stuff like that. And that's all great. But if I still have like squish on me, I'm not going to be like drinking that down. Not that it's not going to kill you. It's not unhealthy. It's
Just not
providing
going to do anywhere, really, is it?
it's just too many calories, too much energy for that day, and you just boom, you supplied everything you needed, and it's healthy, and you're getting all the fat soluble. There's nothing. Oh my God, like you're consuming too much fat, and at a certain point, it's going to kill you. Human beings, the only way we got their essential omega-3 and omega-6, the only way was through animal food, whether it was drinking, just whole fat, like full fat, unpasteurized dairy has omega-3 and omega-6. Chicken, omega-3, omega-6. Pork, every single animal food. Humans didn't even have to know about essential omega-6 and omega-3s. Humans, just like any other stupid animal, didn't even have to be educated. They just craved stuff and they ate it, and everything worked out. Now we have science and we're confused as crap, and it doesn't make any sense. It's like, where would we get these essential nutrients, or we would die eventually? Where would we get that? Animal food. It's always been animal food, so where are all the fat soluble vitamins? The fat soluble vitamins are in the animal fat. So you're telling me that there's essential fat soluble vitamins that happen to reside in an animal that we're not supposed to eat, because the meat's going to give me rectal cancer, and the fat, where all the essential vitamins are, nowhere else in nature can I find them. But if you eat too much of that, then you'll die. Nothing.
What just happened? Jace?
I'm back.
Okay.
My computer died. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't that make sense? It's like there's fat soluble vitamins, and besides fortified foods and supplements and stuff like that, where are you finding them? You finding them in what plants? You're not, like, what? There's coconut that has fat, avocado. What else? There's not that many fatty fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. So that's why everyone's so confused with all of this science, nutritional. Follow the science. Science says this. It's like, yeah, well, we do know a bit about history, what we were doing and what we're eating, and there's common sense and logic. And logic tells me I don't need a study to tell me whether eating animal fat is good or bad, because I know that only 2 centuries ago, even less, that's the only way we could get it. And I don't believe that creation is that stupid. I know that a lot of people believe that the body, it's like, you look at the ecological cycles, the symbiotic relationship, the biological complexity and stuff like that. The body, the creation is not stupid. And this design is not flawed, where what is essential to survive is at the same time killing you. Meanwhile, look at what JD just showed, Earthling Ed, with these pesticide companies that cause like cancer and liver tox.
Yeah.
And the vegans are pointing to us, saying that animal food is unhealthy, and using the health thing, where it's like, give me a break, man. We're drowning in chemicals. The clothes we have on our back are synthetic, with all sorts of like estrogenic compounds and parabens, and you shave, you have parabens in there. We're just bombarded by all these like man-made chemicals, and we're so disconnected from reality that the majority of the population, because not vegans, the majority of the population are not vegan. but they're starting to believe that the vegans are right and that the vegans are healthier. Like now there's like the omnivore shame, and that's all just basic lies and just not sitting down and going saying. That's why I don't like the debates and stuff like that, where it's like everything with these vegan debates is like, show me the study. And it's like, okay, well, we can't even have a conversation because I have just as many studies that you can shoot down that say one thing, and you're showing me these ones, and you're relying on them. And I'm admitting that all this science is biased and it's all observational and it doesn't prove causation. It's all, it's just a bunch of statistics. And people here are like, oh, it's associated with people here, and they assume associated means cause. Oh, there's an increased link or risk. None of those are causes. Those are all statistics, and it's being used by corporations and stuff like that, and policy makers to completely confuse us and to completely engineer our food diets. I've shown on PubMed, in medical journals, peer-reviewed, published studies on how to make men eat less meat, interventional psychology. Like there's full of science about like social engineering, how to make people stop eating meat, even on the psychological level. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna put in. Do you know how to get to the private chat?
No.
On the right, it says probably on your thing, comments, banner, brand, and private chat. On the right of your screen, it might have private chat.
All I've got on the right is you're in the show. Everyone can see you. Is it in options?
It would be like, well, do you see the comments on the right of your screen?
I do not.
Here, let me see if I can show my screen. Share. See it over here, like right below the end broadcast on the screen? Do you see that on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here it says comments, and then it says banner, brand, and then private chat. Do you have this on your screen?
No.
Oh, okay. It is somewhere, but I'm not sure where. Listen, can you Facebook me then? Because I want to be able to talk to you offline.
Sure.
Through Messenger would be the best.
Is it just Jason Swartz?
My Facebook is exactly the same, Jason John Swartz, and the avatar is the black and white picture that is also the same.
Okay.
Will yours will be Peter when I accept?
Mine will be Pete James B.
Okay, Pete James B. All right. So say either messenger me or send me a friend request, and then we can contact each other on Messenger. And what I can do is I'll send you pictures of what I'm eating. You send me pictures of what you're eating, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can call me, text me anytime. I'll answer it, and we'll coach it. And what we can do is we can have more live streams together, because as you're learning and asking questions, these could be really good live streams for a ketogenic diet and stuff like that, because it brings out questions and it kind of brings out like stuff that I could talk about and stuff like that. So I, if we can do once a week, even if it's like an hour live stream, touch base with the people, go through questions and stuff, and do it once a week, 1 hour. We could try and find it like 1 hour the same time of the week, make that a regular thing. And then once you're well on track, then hopefully we can have a second person on, and then me and you we can have like a keto panel for anybody who wants to jump on and learn.
Sounds
that could
good.
be a good segment.
Yeah.
All right, man. You know what? I'm gonna end the broadcast now.
Sure.
And,
cheers for that, Jace.
All right, cool.
Nice one.
See you. Bye bye. All right.